listening to America First Radio. Here is your host, Paul Adams.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Paul Adams once again in Santa Monica, California. And I wish to congratulate Mr. Trump on a phenomenal press conference. Historic, epic. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. He is clearly veering off the beaten path and becoming probably the first president in our generation to show us what transparency and accountability is all about. Putting all his cards on the table right there. And it was absolutely a delight to watch. And the theme of this episode is why Meryl Streep and I will never be an item, or how we can transform our society through transparency. Where do I begin?
Where do I begin to tell the story of how great a love can be?
You know, I listened to Obama's farewell speech, and he did weave certain themes through it. You know, we heard a lot about solidarity, patriotism, the unity, and he has a way of speaking where, you know, he lets you hang on his words. He pauses a lot, you know, because he understands that the message is really carried through in the pauses, in the silence, not in the words. And it's a little bit like music, too. The music is not in the notes. It's actually in the silence between the notes, which a lot of musicians haven't really grasped yet. And that was the reason why I played that little piece by Andy Williams. Love, you know, it's such an ephemeral, beautiful, altruistic feeling, and we have such a hard time manifesting it in our life. Now, for Obama, I don't know whether he was in the Truman Show at that point or Wayne's World maybe. Where was he? Because we are not convinced the economy is better than ever. And I don't think we are convinced the wars for profit have really had a positive effect on our national debt. Obama's speech projected platitudes in public which camouflage deep-seated private ideologies. It was a well-crafted speech, but it was in an alternate reality. Because, let's face it, he mentioned that the economy has never been better before. Yes, we can, we did. But he fails to mention that right now, as we speak, food stamp recipients are at an all-time high. And he, over the last 8 years, spent on vacations alone $85 million. And as for that delusional assertion that he has stopped Iran from creating nuclear weapons with that deal, first of all, Iran never signed the deal. As far as I understand, the deal was never signed. And second of all, he just authorized enough uranium to be shipped to Iran to build 10 nuclear weapons. I mean, what reality is he in? And how does Bibi Netanyahu feel about all this? Didn't I mention already that Obama was going to do the greatest damage as a lame duck president? Well, he just authorized Iranian shipments to Iran enough to build 10 nuclear weapons. Moving on. If I had 2 minutes left to live, what would I say right now? Okay, I woke up yesterday with a very bad feeling, thinking about the deplorable event that's coming up on January 19th. If I was Alex Jones or Roger Stone or Mike Cernovich, I would not go. Let me repeat. I would not go to the deplorable on January 19th. I'll say it one more time for emphasis. If I was one of the main truth tellers, I would not attend the deplorable. Don't forget, our enemies, the elite, the globalists, they have a huge vendetta to settle, okay? They're biding their time. And I don't need to tell you this. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir right here. These globalist animals have no conscience, no morals, no compunction at all. At all. They are brutal, fierce, ruthless. They are the mob to the power of 10, okay? They do not think twice about killing 3,000 people on 9/11. Or when you talk to a Madeleine Albright, she thinks it's fine. It's justifiable to kill 500,000 children in Iraq. Sit back, relax, don't attend the ball. There will be plenty of time to do that later on. Okay? And besides, the optics are kind of askew here. Okay, why are we celebrating before the inauguration, before the 20th? Am I missing something here? This is just my own personal feeling. Look, these guys were able to bring down that Tu-154. They snuffed out 12 of Putin's generals in Syria in a car bombing. And they know that they have been majorly schlonged here, okay? And you think they will suddenly come out of the woodwork and come to their senses and say, okay, we give up, we'll go away now. It's not going to happen. So, what better way for them to exterminate the mouthpieces, the generals of democracy, than when they're all gathered under one roof? You know, who would know any better? They could pin it on ISIS, Black Lives Matter. The next day in the rubble we could find a perfectly preserved passport of the guy who did it. Just like we did in 9/11. Look, I am not the brightest bulb in the room. Okay, I've said that before. But when I wake up in the morning with that kind of impression, I cannot not sound the alarm. What matters most at this stage of the battle is not so much celebration and self-congratulations, but safety. Above all, safety. The nation is still very vulnerable and will be until such time as a lot of these characters, including Soros, are quarantined. So national security should be our topmost concern here. And protecting our national treasures, and I'm serious about this, which include the alternative media, Alex Jones, at the tip of the spear. These are our national treasures. They must be preserved. They must be safeguarded. They must be protected. You know, no one has been more passionate and worked harder over the years than Alex Jones. Okay? And there's others. But I said my piece. Personally, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't even go if bomb-sniffing dogs had made the rounds and they had anti-missile defense systems on the roofs. I would not go. Simply out of strategic common sense. Why risk it? There will be time to celebrate later. And by the way, for you folks who don't know, did you know that many days before 9/11, the bomb-sniffing dogs were pulled out of the World Trade Center? But I digress. Okay, so that's what's in my heart. That's what God made me feel that morning, yesterday morning, and I'm sharing it. So we got a lot to cover here, and I'll get to Meryl Streep momentarily. It's too bad, Meryl, you and I can be an item, you know, and she looks so much like my co-author. Oh, Lori Fingenbush and Meryl, they look like sisters. Of course, Lori and I co-authored a book a few years back. It took us 3 years to do it, folks. And I'm going to plug the book a little bit here. It's called 93 Things We Learned from Our Last 11 Marriages. She had 6 at the time. I had 5. She's a wonderful human being, by the way. 32-year Army veteran, retired. She's a thespian. She can cook. She can paint. She can write. She can sing. And now she's happily married to her number 7. Now, did you see that John McCain and James Clapper exchange? I mean, did these guys prepare for the theater in advance or what? You know, I can just picture McCain in his office coaching Clapper, telling him, Jim, I'm going to ask you a few questions. First, I'm going to ask you this question and then that question, and I want you to answer this way and that way, okay? And I want you to look really serious, all right? I mean, no smiling, okay? Jim says, yeah, okay, John, I got it. Just don't look me in the eye or I might crack up laughing, okay? Okay, yeah, Jim, I get you. That goes double for you, Jim. Don't look me in the eye either. These guys came prepared, you better believe it, because they leave nothing to chance. And so, now we learn that McCain passed on the smear dossier on Trump. And for those of you who do not know what a dossier is, that's French for a file, okay? C'est très important d'avoir le propre mot pour les propres idées. Yeah, I speak a little bit of French. To carry on here, they think they've got us duped, okay? McCain passed the smear dossier on Trump to the FBI because he said he felt it was his duty as a concerned citizen. This is John McCain we're talking about. This is the guy who schmoozed up to ISIS. We've got him in the pictures. And John McCain is suddenly a concerned citizen. The only thing that he's concerned about is that Trump doesn't reveal their evil network. And he will make examples of them. Guaranteed. And notice how Chuck Schumer has the same kind of smile as John Podesta. I mean, is that coincidence? I'm not inferring anything here, by the way, okay? Huh? It just looks kind of funny to me. You know, I heard way back when I was younger, we are born with a face, but laughing or smiling, we eventually make up our own. You know, and you can tell a lot about a person by the way he laughs at certain things, what he laughs at, what his sense of humor is. Look, all they're trying to do right now is spook Trump into thinking that they can blackmail him, that they can have some leverage on him, that they can lean on him, you know, put the arm on him, control him. What they don't realize is that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is bagging Trump. And any weapon they form against him will just boomerang back on their head. And I can't wait till Trump sues some of these fake news outlets for libel. I hope he doesn't just slap him on the wrist, you know. I hope he goes to town with them. And Trump nailed CNN in his press conference. He told Jim Costa, you know, you are fake news. Let's listen to this clip here.
Mr. President-elect, the tweet that you had this morning about are we living in Nazi Germany, what were you driving at there? What are you trying to tell the
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that. And that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN going out of their way to build it up, and by the way, we just found out I was coming down. Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohen. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with Michael Cohen.
Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization
Can you give us a
is
chance
terrible.
to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking
categorically,
a question.
Mr.
Don't be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you
No,
give
I'm not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a
Can
question.
you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not
Go ahead.
appropriate.
See, this is the pathetic, moronic mentality that the media have. You know, there's no apology, there's no retractions, there's no remorse for having done what they did. He just wanted to ask a question of Trump. That's all he was worried about. He couldn't have done it after the apology, after the retraction. Oh, no. I need to ask you a question, Mr. President. You're out of line, Mr. President. Now, speaking of Trump, I started my own news service, folks. You got to realize I'm living in my vehicle right now in LA, okay? And this is coming a long way. It's a long story. I used to live in the 43rd floor of a mansion on the waterfront. Long story short, I'm here in LA. I started my own news service. It's called Trump-X-Press.com. Okay? It's a small little website. It's not exactly what I wanted, but, you know, it's a work in progress. I am accepting donations. I want to make it into something much, much bigger. I went to this UK-based company that offered me a really good deal on the web design, but the SEO is out of whack, okay? So that's what you get with a Tide 1 British, okay? They'll give you just a little bit. But it reminds me of the British couple that was down here, and they were looking for directions. They were looking for Venice Beach. And I detected their heavy British accent, so I asked the guy, "Are you British, sir?" And he says, "Yes, of course we are. We are from London." I said, "Okay, well then for you, Venice Beach is 3 miles that way." Of course, we had a good laugh about that, you know, all in good humor. So my mandate is to assemble and disseminate news stories that empower the electorate. The name of the website, as I mentioned, is Trump-X-Press.com. And I am on a very, very tight budget. Very tight budget. I have a small pension that's coming in. And thanks to my ex, it's somehow diminished because, you know, sharing is caring after all, right? So I am getting $230 a month. Okay? That's what I live on, basically, and sometimes I don't even spend all that. Believe me, I know how to budget. I really know how to budget. And for Obama, you know, bro, you need to come down to LA and check things out here, okay? Because I kind of think that you're out of touch. There's about 13,000 people that are homeless in LA right now. Okay, and 30% are from out of state. They come from all over the country, and then they've just built this extension. The rail line now goes from LA all the way to Santa Monica. So when you come to Santa Monica, where I usually hang out, there's now almost double the amount of homeless people. They're all over the place, and it's going to get worse. You know, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I submitted a very simple idea to the city council here. I said, look, you've got all these multi-million-dollar properties, and you're not doing anything about it. I says, look, this problem is not going to go away. The homeless are going to be here for a long time. All right? So why don't you do this? Give them a safe space. Instead of building, you know, $1 million housing units where you put 10 people and it's costing you $100,000 per person to house, why don't you take some of your parking spots? You know, you got all these public parking lots all down the beach here. Why don't you take a few of these spots? Let's say 5% of the spots. and allocate them for homeless people. You know, take some RVs, old RVs. You can yank out the engine so nobody gets off with the RV. And have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 homeless people living in these RVs until things get better. That way they won't be sleeping all over the streets. You see them all over the place. And if you go to the library, well, that's where all the homeless hang out. They go to recharge their cell phones. You know, I would say about 95% of the people that are in the library on any given day are homeless people. And my heart goes out to them. My heart bleeds for them. A lot of them have fallen through the cracks. A lot of them have mental issues. Others have, drug problems, alcohol problems. It's something to think about. But my news service does not concentrate on the local issues. It's more of a geopolitical national forum, and it has real news by real sources in real time. All right, you got that? So you need to check it out. Go to Trump-X, the letter X, as in X marks the spot, -press.com, and you'll see it. Now, my special message to Ron Howard and Meryl Streep. The diehard Hillary surrogates who think the world owes them a platform so they can further divide the country up, so that they can find themes to base their movie scripts on, so that art can imitate life, so that they can be rich at the expense of the nation. Ron Howard had put out a tweet about Meryl's comments, that she was taking a big risk in saying what she said. And I said to Ron, I replied to him, I said, look, Ron, the big risk is you hiring her, because half the country is not going to be even watching her anymore. Now, did you know that Facebook is now number 6 on the most hated website list? I deleted my Facebook account about a year ago. So on the national scene, there's 2 stories I want to cover today, and I don't know which is worse. The Huffington Post came out with this headline: "Not all pedophiles have mental disorders," the American Psychiatric Association says in a new DSM. This is like saying, give these people some slack. That was back in November 2013. New York Times in 2014 said pedophilia is a disorder, not a crime. A year later, 2015, an article in Salon said, "I'm a pedophile but not a monster." And then we hear from The Sun. Headline is, "One-armed virtuous. A virtuous pedophile reveals he's not ashamed of being sexually attracted to children as young as 3. And these stories, I want to thank the InfoWars crew for bringing them to light. So the frog is slowly getting cooked here, okay? In 2017, we hear of a 6-year-old trans boy wearing a bondage gag on his mouth. And this is supposed to be a Fox News show. And then on Snapchat, we hear of a 65-year-old teacher who is posing with a caption, "I am a good pedophile." This guy is attracted to pre-pubescent girls. Where does it end? Where does it end? It's got to end. From Vice, we hear this story: a child rape victim should be more empathetic to pedophiles. This is the progressive left for you, okay? Anything goes. Do what you want. Nobody cares. No rules apply. In California, just legalized sex for pay with minors? Are you kidding me? And you want me to move over to the left? Are you out of your freaking mind? Do you really think your progressive slippery slope is going to attract more voters to vote Democrat? Now, the Meryl Streep incident, okay? Look, I admire Meryl. She has enormous talent. Absolutely splendid acting, or if you want to call it channeling, whatever. Meryl had to make a comment which would really put her at the center of attention, okay? She wants the limelight. In some macabre way, she wants to be immortalized. As Hillary's patron who donated who knows how many millions to Hillary for who knows what favors. And now that her candidate has lost, she must make sure she does all in her power to bring down the winner and everybody else. Even if Bernie had won, this would have been the perfect moment for her to grandstand. Meryl never mentioned anything about Hillary calling half the nation deplorables. Oh, I see. She called us deplorables because, well, we supported a man who was less than perfect and had made some remarks which were off-color, condescending. Okay, I get it. I wonder what you would have called us if Trump had been a rapist. Can you imagine? Oh, but wait, Bill Clinton already did that. So that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work out anyway. What am I thinking? The point is, Trump is not God in the flesh. He's not Obama, who calls his wife Michael, slip of the tongue. He's not George Bush, who says that sometimes commercial interests trump national security. He's not Bill Clinton, who says, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And he's not the DNC apparatus that calls Hispanics taco balls. So far, so good. Are you with me, Meryl? I don't want to be raunchy or tawdry here, given I'm addressing a rather circumspect, if not puritanical, audience. Oh, wait, you say I'm addressing Hollywood. You mean the purveyors of drugs, sex, and rock and roll? So you mean I can go to town here? Nah, I'm not going to go to town. No need. I don't want to stoop. Besides, I already had a shower this morning. So what are you saying, Meryl? So I don't mind some criticism as long as it's balanced. It's not one-sided, tilted. So the way you look at candidates is you take 2 sheets of paper, and you draw a line down the middle, and you do a Benjamin Franklin, okay? You put their pluses on one side and their negatives on the other side, the pros and the cons. And you do a dispassionate, objective evaluation. That's how you do it. And this is what bugs me. It's not what Meryl said about Trump. It's that she wasn't dispassionate, that she wasn't objective. It reminds me of my days of tweeting during the campaign. And man, did I tweet. I would spend like 12, 15 hours a day tweeting. I went from 25 followers back in April 2016 to over 6,000 and then 8,000 by mid-October. And I was only following maybe 100 to 125 people. Anyway, long story short, I'll come back to that. But, during my tweeting, I try to unveil the truth. I try to be objective. In one meme, I show how veiled woman in burqas. The heading was details, details. And I made reference to one of the WikiLeaks emails. In another meme, I tweeted, Hillary should apologize for bullying into silence the woman her husband raped, lying about the video that triggered Benghazi, ignoring 600 requests for backup from Ambassador Stevens, storing top-secret intelligence in an unsecured server, deleting 30,000 emails which were property of the state, ordering staff to change classification headings of emails, receiving $100 million from Saudi donors, using the Clinton Foundation for pay-to-play, defrauding investors in the Whitewater scam, ruined the life of a 12-year-old rape victim, ruined the life of a travel office administrator, rigging the DNC primaries, calling Latinos taco balls, and on and on. In another tweet, I had this to say: a vote for this biodegradable organism means you are an accomplice after the fact to its Benghazi murders, breach of our national security, and the funding of terrorists, and are a co-enabler in the rape of women. Of course, Meryl failed to mention also that the Clinton Foundation consistently underpaid the female employees and used over 90% of its donations for administrative expenses. So, shall we compare Trump to Hillary, who in 22 consecutive occasions told us she has never sent or received emails through her private email server? Do you really believe that, Meryl? When you sat down and you talked to her and she told you she never received or sent emails that were classified? Now, if Trump was a former Secretary of State and told us that he had never received or sent classified emails from his server, because the only appropriate response to anyone coming up with that kind of a statement is, what the hell were you doing for 4 years, Secretary of State, when your job was to communicate by emails? And, by the way, have you ever asked Hillary this question, Meryl? How in the world did you leave the White House dead broke and accumulate $250 million? How did you do that? Why didn't you bring that up in the Golden Globes? If Trump had written John Podesta emails about spirit kicking, would you not have brought that up? Perhaps, Meryl, you can explain to the rest of us how Hillary sold ambassadorships for $1 to $2 million a pop while she was Secretary of State. Now, we also have learned that she received £4 million from Angela Merkel, German taxpayer money, to fund her campaign. And we know that Hillary is beholden to China and Saudi Arabia. So here's the fascinating thing, Meryl. Meryl, pay attention here, okay? See, Hillary Clinton was not just Secretary of State. She was also a senator who was a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Okay? She was also a member of the Transformation Advisory Group, which was an expert panel that advised U.S. Joint Forces Command on issues pertaining to the different branches of the military. All right? And as Secretary of State, she was given this designation. She was the original classification authority. Okay? Just let that register. So, when she tells us that she does not know what the letter C stands for, okay, and I can come up with a lot of words that start with the letter C. Do you really buy that? I mean, can you picture her in the middle of the night, getting on the phone and calling up her husband, Bill, what does the letter C stand for in the emails? Can you remember? No, honey. I ain't got a clue. No, you better call John Podesta. Yeah, he'd probably be able to help you. Hey, John. Sorry to bother you this late at night. Do you know what the letter C stands for in the emails? Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them here. Oh, C. What the hell is C for? I have no clue. Can somebody help me? And John tells her, no. You got to go back to the people that filled you in on all this. You got to talk to the FBI. You got to talk to James Comey. Yeah. See, what kind of woman lies to the families of the Benghazi victims, okay? Telling them that it was a video that sparked that attack on Benghazi. And then have the temerity to say during the hearings, what difference at this point does it make? Meryl, you're a bright woman. You are a bright woman, but you really are kind of one of those women that wanted to break the glass ceiling, right? You wanted to break the glass ceiling, the damn glass ceiling. You needed to have a president with a vagina in there at all costs. Come hell or high water, didn't matter to you. Hillary was owed the presidency. So what more do you need to know about Hillary? Well, she was also fired at age 27 as a young lawyer by a high-ranking Democrat, no less, during the Watergate investigation hearings because she was unethical. She was unethical. She did things that jeopardized our national security, broke all the rules, and then she was blackballed. And from there, as the years went on, she graduated to, Secretary of State and funding ISIS. And all these inconvenient truths were covered up by her campaign staff, which are the mainstream media. Yeah, Trump is not perfect, he admits it. He has apologized. I have the nagging feeling that many women brushing shoulders with a tall, handsome guy like Trump, a stud, a wealthy guy like him, they would have loved to jump in bed with him. And perhaps that's what's seating up Meryl. Maybe, Donald didn't pay any attention to her all these years. Maybe that's what it is. I've had my share of flings with women. Man, come on. Where do I start? Marriages, a lot of failures, and I know how women can be, when they want a guy with a little muscle, a little money, a nice smile, sense of humor, guy who's been around. I've been there. I was proposed to twice. I accepted. On average, when I've been single and just, in the market, so to speak, and I don't mean to brag here, okay? I would normally get maybe one proposal a year. Why isn't anybody talking about this homeless woman with some issues, this woman who is living in Trump Tower, Trump Plaza, free for the last 8 years and can live there for as long as she wants? That story was out recently. Why did the media bury that? Huh? But instead, they talk about Hillary a lot. Yeah. The queen of skanks, that super predator, the rape enabler, butcher of Benghazi, that biological organism that we know as Hillary Clinton, who wants us to get rid of our deep-seated religious beliefs so that we can accelerate our slide down the slippery slope and maybe legalize pedophilia and necrophilia. So, why would I date you, Meryl? Why would I date you? And now, come to think of it, you gave a standing ovation to a pedophile named Roman Polanski, who raped a 13-year-old girl. Enough said. I've got nothing more to say about Meryl. Look, I'm not a hateful guy. I have forgiven all my exes, okay? And I pray for them every day, twice a day. I pray for their well-being. I've got a lot of people I pray for. I pray for Alex Jones. I pray for Donald Trump twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. Pray for America. And this is happening at a time when we are getting closer and closer to the second coming, okay? In fact, the slogan in my website is preparing the way for the King of Kings. And I've got this absolute gem I want to share with you some other time that I found in Zechariah about the building of the temple. You've already heard that the Sanhedrin has asked Trump to build the third temple, right? That was in the news lately. But I'm going to save it for another time. There's absolutely this one gem that puts it all into focus. That's in Zechariah. I'm going to bring it up some other time. In the meantime, the Arch of Baal was transported from Palmyra, Syria, and is now erected in New York City. Of course, another name for Baal is Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies, or the Lord of the Dung. Isn't that interesting that we are erecting the Arch of Baal in New York City. It's like X marks the spot, right? Here we are, Lord. This is it. This is the epicenter right here. I told you, when they legalized gay marriage, I saw the TV announcing it, and in my mind I picture this crosshairs, God's crosshairs, panning over and locking onto America. In other news, an honor guard passed out at Obama's speech as he had sucked out all the air out of the room, all the oxygen. And Toyota has announced it's now investing $10 billion in the United States. Now, as an act of defiance, I told you these guys are going for broke. High-level inside intel, the Dems are still trying to block Trump's inauguration. Senator Chuck Schumer sends threat to President-elect Donald Trump from the CIA. Quote, I tell ya, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. End of quote. Meanwhile, Press Secretary for the White House, Josh Earnest, regurgitates the official talking point that 17 intelligence agencies are unified in their belief that the Russians hacked the DNC. I'm going to get back to the election in a minute here. If you really want to know how the votes went to Trump without a trace, who did the hacking, you need to call this number, 1-800-GOD-SAYS. Do you think we need the Russians to portray Trump in favorable terms compared to Hillary? I mean, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. What do they have at stake? They want peace. They don't want war. And they knew that Hillary was going to be a warmonger. She was going to start World War III. And they were talking about it endlessly in their media. But do you really think the American people were turned on to the Russian media? We had no clue what was going on. When China funded Hillary, when Saudi Arabia funded Hillary, when Qatar and Germany funded Hillary, where were the prostitutes? So here's what happened on election day. Because they were all astonished that they lost, right? They were stupefied. How could this have happened? We had it all planned out. Of course they had it planned out. They had it planned out because they were going to steal the votes. They were going to switch the votes in the machines. They had some kind of software pre-programmed to switch the votes after the fact, not as the voters voted. Okay? And the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob reversed the stolen votes that were going to Hillary. He put them back in place. They were forfeited and given back to Trump. That's how they mysteriously flipped back. You think for a minute that this supreme being who has been around for a very long time, and has a huge operation, huge network of angels and archangels, and you think that maybe he doesn't know a little bit about software? You really think he doesn't care about America? You think he doesn't know that there's a connection between America and Israel? You think he doesn't know that in this election, if America didn't come first, that Israel would be down the toilet? Right? Come on. For all of you in the left there, and I hate to be using the word left, okay? There's no left. There's only right and wrong. There's only freedom and slavery. For all of you witches out there, you know that the paranormal is real, okay? Don't give me this BS that God doesn't exist. There's too many people that have prayed and fasted for Trump, so get over it. All the witches, all the Wiccans, all the tarot card readers, the psychic, the palm readers, all of you who had your hexa spells and curses broadcasting out, that didn't work. Didn't work. You were overruled. God overruled you. So to all those who want to take America down, and I'm talking especially to Soros, your days on this continent are numbered. You're done. See, you got to understand, miracles do happen, especially when demons like Hillary want to start a world war. They happened for ancient Israel. They happened for modern Israel in 48, for Americans fighting the British, for the Allied forces fighting the Nazis, and they will happen again and again and again and again. Unless we forget God completely. And we are that close, folks. We are that close from getting our butts whooped. Now, if you want to push the limit, here's what's going to come out from the WikiLeaks. If the elite, if the shadow government wants to push it to the limit, according to Alex Jones, and he's got some very high sources going all the way up, right up, there's going to be all kinds of information implicating Obama, Hillary, and Kerry as they were in a meeting at the CFR getting instructions on how to create ISIS. There's also going to be a lot of meat on drug trafficking, sex trafficking, pedophilia on both sides of the aisle, just for starters. And we haven't even gotten to the 650,000 emails in Anthony Weiner's laptop. Right? The swamp is going to get drained one way or the other. It's going to get drained. And both left and right career criminals are going to be exposed. Okay? That's why I'm politically agnostic. I don't care about Republicans. I don't care about Democrats. All I care about is America. All I care about is our right to our Constitution, to peace, to safety, where everybody gets a fair shake. Everybody gets a chance. So you want to block Trump's inauguration? Give it your best shot, because you're going to be dealing with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm telling you. No matter what you do, the truth is going to leak out. You're going to go down, so we can do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way. The easy way would be give up and surrender. We can have some kind of a truth and reconciliation hearing. Okay? Because we're not after blood. We're not bloodthirsty. We're not here to maim and kill or anything like that. We just want the truth out, and we want to start off on a brand new page. Okay? Like a jubilee. Put aside all our differences and start new, fresh. So here we go. You know, on the international scene, we just learned that the Green Party in Germany wants to use taxpayer money to pay for prostitutes. Okay? So this is the kind of inverted reality which leads to the implosion of empires. And also, as I mentioned in my last podcast, now Benjamin Netanyahu has unequivocal evidence that the Obama administration led the effort to pass the anti-Israel resolution. He's got that evidence. He's also got evidence that Obama is shipping uranium to Iran. What do you think Bibi is thinking right now about Obama? Well, I don't know. Also, we heard that Hungary plans to crack down on non-governmental organizations, NGOs linked to billionaire George Soros, now that Donald Trump will occupy the White House. So, as a Christian, as a white Christian, and I know a lot of you think you got a double whammy here, okay? That I'm a racist and that I'm a fanatic and a hypocrite and a misogynist. Well, I cannot be a misogynist because I love women. I mean, how many times do I have to get married to prove that to you? And how can I be a racist when I marry two black women? And I have a stepson who is now in his teens, who I helped him learn how to ride a bike and read and fish and swim and fly a kite and dig up anthills. He was like one of my own kids. How can I be a racist? And as far as being a hypocrite, you know, this is the best part, you know. Oh yeah, Christians, Christians, they preach to you and they do this and that and they live double lives, right? They're just a bunch of hypocrites, right? That's what we get. That's all we get all day long. And look at some of their preachers. Man, how can you trust those preachers? I don't blame some people, I don't trust some of these preachers either. They give me a very bad feeling. But the bottom line is, Christians are a little bit like basketball players. They're a little bit like musicians. They're a bit like martial artists, that keep trying, keep practicing. It's like they're disciplined, and they'll take 10 steps forwards and 20 steps backwards, and sometimes they'll just fail big time. Big time. They'll be up in a concert hall, and they just mess it all up. Don't forget, we've got all Scratch, old Lucifer on our back, 24/7. You know what that's like? Do you have any idea what that's like? To have somebody goading you, accusing you, tempting you, smearing you all day long. So that's all I got to say. Until next time, God bless America and God bless President Trump.